You're listening to the Talk of the Suburbs, AM 1440 WNPV. Comment Please by Univest, the longest-running radio talk program in the Delaware Valley. Here's the host of Comment Please by Univest, Darryl Berger.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Comment Please by Univest on this Tuesday afternoon. It is the 20th day of November. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us today. And we're going to spend some time talking about politics, specifically Montgomery County politics, because we have someone who is just before the dust had really settled on the election that just passed. Montgomery County Commissioner Joe Gale announced that he was running for re-election, and he was going to be joined by his brother in the campaign, which was sort of eye-opening. But Joe Gale's opened some eyes before, and Joe Gale is with us in studio. Joe, thanks for coming in.
Always great to be here.
Well, you know, it's sort of interesting, and it strikes me as a little odd that two brothers would be running together on the same ticket. What was the thought process that led you to this decision?
So when I was elected in my first term in 2015,
right,
it was against the odds, and it upset the political party establishment. And ever since, I've had a huge bullseye on my back where I am a target to remove from office.
Yes.
The political establishment wants me gone.
Republicans and Democrats.
Both.
Yes.
And they will work together to do so. So the way county commissioner works is 2 Republicans are elected in the primary and 2 Democrats are elected in the primary. In the fall general election, out of those 4, the top 3 are elected.
Right.
So there has to be 2 Republicans to run, and I don't want what happened last time to happen again, where I was paired with an establishment insider candidate and I was cut by the party.
Right.
I want a running mate that I'm compatible with, and also, more importantly, someone I can trust. And in the political world, it is far and in between. You cannot trust people. It is a ruthless, backstabbing atmosphere.
Right.
And I can trust my brother. And I had to pick someone that is also electable. And he's also electable in the fact that he ran my campaign in 2015. He served as campaign manager. And I always credit him as the brain behind my success. He was a full-time law student when I was running for commissioner. He juggled law school successfully along with the campaign successfully. He's very bright, and I see him as a very solid candidate and would be a terrific county commissioner. Not only is he an attorney, but he's general counsel of a large drug and alcohol rehabilitation company with about 700 employees. He's the general counsel. Right now, the opioid crisis is something that impacts communities all over the country, even here in Montgomery County, and he is pretty much an expert in that field. He has an undergraduate degree in finance and real estate. When he first got out of law school, he worked in the real estate industry and law. So he's a bright guy, he's electable, and I can trust him, and I couldn't ask for anything else in a running mate.
It's almost like when Bobby Kennedy ran John Kennedy's campaign.
Yeah. There
was a similar vibe there. Of course, they never were on the ticket together, though.
Yeah, we have a unique bond. We're 2 years apart. I'm 2 years older than Sean. I'm 29 years old, and Sean's 27. But we're not only brothers, we're friends, we're like-minded. We would campaign well together. We already have the proven ability to do that.
Right.
Where last time I had everybody working against me. They were bitter of the fact that I beat them in the primary and wanted to make an example of me. We're going to campaign together well. If we have the opportunity to be elected together, we will govern well as well. So I think it's unique, and it's catching the interest of the general public.
Because I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about 2015, because I want to talk more about 2019. But as I said then, it's one of the most fascinating things I've seen in 30 years of paying attention to politics in the suburbs, or even a little bit more than that. Your victory, and you're beating the establishment Republican the superstructure of the party in the primary and really in the general election as well. So it was quite remarkable. Have you learned anything more about that since then that you haven't said?
Well, there was 2 options. After I won that big upset in 2015, I could have, said to the party leaders, look, I won. I know you didn't want me to win, but I won. Let's cooperate. Instead, I took the other approach where I remained independent of the Republican Party establishment, and I continued to build my own network, and I thumb the eye and criticize Republicans often.
Right.
And that's pretty much unheard of. You don't see Republicans going around criticizing other Republicans.
So why didn't you accept their olive branch?
Well, there really wasn't a true olive branch, but also I wasn't seeking that olive branch either. I ran on being an independent conservative, and I actually walked the walk in doing so. I don't play ball, and I think that's why I have so much popular support among residents of Montgomery County, because I developed that reputation.
So I've heard this phrase used a couple of times as it relates to Joe Gale. Who is he, and what does he want?
Right.
So he sort of came out of nowhere 4 years ago, and, again, a 25-year-old kid took on the Montgomery County Republican Party. So who are you, and what do you want?
Well, I started out as a high school student interested in government.
Right.
Got involved in local Republican Party politics, and was disappointed in what I saw over the years. It was a good old boys network that were failing. It wasn't the old days where they had a Republican voter registration advantage, and they were fighting over a crumbling organization. And as a young guy, you're often told, sit on the bench and wait your turn.
Yes.
And I've seen it.
That's the Republican way, is to wait your turn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go put out the signs and put these door hangers in the neighborhood and do all the grunt work. And these people that do that and listen to that philosophy of wait your turn and sit on the bench, they become a political hack. And I didn't want to become a political hack. And the way I look at it is, when you're young, that's the time to take risks, because even if you fail at a risk, you can recover and learn from it or try it again. You become a better person. And I didn't want to look back years from now and think, well, maybe I should have ran for county commissioner, give it a shot. And to me, it was a win-win. It was going to get my name out. And I knew giving the voters of the county a choice in selection instead of party bosses hand-picking who's going to be the best puppet was accomplishment alone, just being a candidate and getting on the ballot. But I was honored to get elected.
So you've been a county commissioner, minority commissioner for 4 years. Do you feel as though you've accomplished anything? The minority position is a difficult position because very often, if it's an important vote, it's 2-1 against you. So what have you done, do you think?
Well, I think I've educated the public on issues that otherwise would have been swept under the carpet. We meet 10 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday when the public's working.
Yes.
There's limited coverage.
It didn't start with this administration. It's been that way sort of traditionally.
Yes. And, when I oppose things and provide an alternative or a contrast of ideas, I start educating the public on these issues. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't being done in the past.
Opposition to, give us a few examples.
Whether it's opposing the new millage rate for the Montgomery County Community College, essentially a new tax on their tax bill, whether it's opposing the increase in the vehicle registration fee, whether it's flat out identifying pay-to-play politics right at our board meetings with my colleagues next to me, where I lay out a plan where a campaign donor donated on a Tuesday and was awarded a public-funded project on a Thursday. That doesn't go over big in the boardroom, but the public's aware of it because I have the proven ability to let them know what I'm doing, and I have success at that. And they really are appreciative of the fact that I have the guts to sit at those meetings and be a watchdog and a voice for people that feel like they don't have a voice.
Do you feel as though, even though, you end up losing because, again, it's a 2-1 against you, do you feel as though you've accomplished something by revealing these things?
Well, yeah. One, it educates people. And two, I'm sure they think twice before there's wasteful spending or another money grab or one of their donors getting a government contract. They have to think twice because there's going to be consequences. I'm going to bring it up at a public meeting.
Right, because when I was listening to you talk about your brother, who you obviously have a deep love and respect for, it almost sounded like, well, this is somebody I can trust, I can run with him, but in the end, if a minority commissioner is going to be elected, it's more likely me than him because, you've got the profile.
Yeah, well, and it's unique because we have the same name as well, So we're both Gale.
Right, well, that's true.
But, there's two ways this can go in 2019. The two Democrat incumbents will run for re-election.
Which they've indicated, I believe the last time they were here, actually, they indicated they would run.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much assumed that they're raising money together and they're going to run together next year. So you could either have two Republican candidates that are going to be weak establishment insider candidates, or you can have two young brothers that are going to shake things up. And I'm very confident that the voters will go with the two young brothers that want to shake things up. And
what about in the primary? Do you expect a primary challenge that the party would put up two candidates?
I expect it. No one has come forward. I think they're all hesitant because they know we're aggressive campaigners and they want to stay within the comfort zone. We blow that whole thing up.
You would welcome the competition.
Oh, yeah.
You would welcome a primary challenge.
Yeah, we're in no way.
Ready to go.
Oh, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's why I announced my running mate early, a week after the 2018 midterms.
Right.
We're ready to go, full steam ahead. Anybody that jumps in is just going to get in our way, and they know that they're going to get hit by us.
Yeah.
We're not afraid. We're not going to play Mother May I. This is a contact sport, and a lot of the other candidates don't want a dogfight.
Right. Now, you've been an unmitigated supporter of Donald Trump, first elected official to come out and support Donald Trump, and I want to ask you about some of the things that are happening nationally, because you believe that here in Montgomery County there's sort of a microcosm of that, and we have to take a break. We'll do that. We'll come back more with Joe Gale on Comment Please Be Univest on this Tuesday afternoon in a moment.
WNPV AM 1440.
Brother, I think it's time we talk. Why do guys like us spend most our lives playing it tough? Oh, brother.
Well, there you go. I'm not sure who that is, but it sounds like maybe a country artist of some kind. But song Brother, though, appropriate enough for the topic at hand.
Very
here.
appropriate.
So now let's talk about Donald Trump. Here he's gone through the midterms. We've seen the results of the election. What's your assessment of the political environment nationally? And then I'll ask you to talk about it locally.
Well, I think Trump's more popular than when he was elected with the public. The level of energy he has is unmatched and beyond incredible. And
he has an amazing stamina, even in the turmoil, which he seems to in some ways feed off of.
And I think that inspires Americans to get behind his agenda. It's like it's optimism that here he is, he's productive, whether it's executive orders to eliminate regulations on business that are burdensome, or the tax cut, one of the largest tax cuts in the history of the country. All of this combined is now helping the business climate, bringing in jobs. Unemployment numbers are the best they've been in decades. So it's incredible what he has accomplished in the short time he's been there, and it excites people, and that's what you see at his rallies. I mean, these huge, numerous amount of people come out to support him.
He certainly energizes the opposition, though, too. I mean, he coalesces those folks pretty well as well. And here locally, what we saw here in Montgomery County, certainly, less so in Bucks County, but certainly in Montgomery County, the blue got even bluer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have two types of political idols, Donald Trump and the former mayor of Philadelphia, Frank Rizzo, both of whom were considered a populist, meaning of the people. Right. They're not an establishment Republican. They're not a Rockefeller, George Bush Republican or a John McCain, Boehner type. They're their own guy, and that attracts people. When you have a populist, many times they're either loved or they're hated. That was like the same way with Rizzo. People either adored him or he was hated.
Yes.
And you see it with Trump. But what it proves is that they stand for something, that they don't put their finger in the air and see which way the wind's blowing like many of these career politicians do. They stand for something, and it's clear where they stand. Mm-hmm. And with Trump, you get that. And, these other candidates around the country don't have the charisma, the energy, the force that Trump has.
The Barlettas and the Wagners of the world here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they don't have it. There's an it factor, and Trump has the it factor. He has a proven ability to attract blue-collar Democrats. He did that here in western Pennsylvania. First time to win the state since 1988. So, that couldn't transfer over to Lou Barletta and Scott Wagner. They were bad candidates. So he has something very unique, and I think looking back in history, this will be probably the most significant administration in the history of America.
Well, certainly the establishment has been rattled and dislodged and all those sorts of things, which ultimately I believe is a good thing. But in Montgomery County, as it has gotten, the blue has gotten even bluer in Montgomery County, without some sort of really defining issue, it seems unlikely that you and your brother are going to be successful at winning the majority.
Well, I mean, the voter registration favors the Democrats.
Sure.
However, out of the 3-member board, I'm the minority commissioner. I am very confident that I have the highest name recognition on that board. So significant that I believe if you took the 2 majority commissioners combined, I have more name recognition with them. I'm outspoken on the board, and that alone stands out. The other 2 are lockstep all the time and will never waver from each other. Where I show a sign of independence, there are liberal Democrats that even admire that I have the courage to do that and take the role of minority commissioner seriously. On top of that, I don't believe in the history of the county there's ever been a county commissioner that has been out in the public to the level I have. I don't go to political party events at all. I go to community events. I continue to have my series of meet and greets that we call Cup of Joe.
People that follow you on Facebook know that you're in a lot of places.
If you follow Vote Joe Gale on Facebook, you see it.
Right.
And that plays psychological mind games with the political class world that looks at this and says, he's here, he's there, he's everywhere. On November 3rd, it was the 3rd-year anniversary of my victory. I put up on YouTube a video, and it's like a montage of all my photos through the course of the year. So there's 3 of those videos. I encourage the listeners to go onto YouTube and put Joe Gale in, and you see how many places I've been, how many people I've interacted with, and the success that I'm having with it. Where the other 2 majority commissioners, they're out often too, but they're out at all these Democrat functions, and it's the same people over and over again, where I'm meeting normal people. I realize that it's a long shot to win back Montgomery County, but so was my election the first time, and we overcame the odds and won again. So I never rule anything out, and I think with this unique ticket of the Gale brothers, it now becomes a possibility to win back Montgomery County and make it red again.
So what is the issue then in county government where you're being a fiscal watchdog has meant something, or you can leverage that politically into a victory? I mean, what is the issue? Where are we hemorrhaging funds somewhere? Is it the contracts that a certain law firm is getting, or what? Well,
I mentioned earlier in the year how I opposed the millage rate for the community college. That's a new line item on their tax bill, and I could rehash that. But right now we're in the process of approving the 2019 county budget. And that was proposed last Thursday. And I basically gave the commissioners an ultimatum at that meeting saying that I will not support the budget unless I had a guaranteed commitment that they would not enact a project labor agreement for the construction of the new county campus in Norristown, which is building a new justice center, renovating One Montgomery Plaza and historic courthouse. There is an orchestrated effort from everybody from Bob Casey and Governor Wolf down to state representatives and several labor and trade unions, urging the county commissioners to enact a project labor agreement, which basically means when it comes to the procurement process, 80% of the construction industry would be excluded from bidding on the construction work.
It would leverage it toward union workers.
Correct.
And it would increase the cost of the project by how much?
It's been proven by about 20%. So this is a specific project.
And this is a big number because it's the largest capital project in the history of the county.
Yes, it is. Right. And that is what I pointed out. Originally, and I held up a newspaper at the meeting, it was reported on in March of 2017 that this project was going to be $281 million. Our 5-year capital plan for the county campus that's proposed for going forward is now $406 million. So it's increased dramatically. And we haven't even broken ground yet. So I want to make sure that we pick a number as low as possible and stay within budget. And the fact that we went from 281 to 406 is very alarming. And I'm not going to support a budget that I'm not comfortable with. The whole purpose of a budget is to determine how we're spending our tax dollars. And to spend it on a $406 million county campus, if I said that to a chamber of commerce, I said this at the meeting as well, or a town hall meeting, a conversation with commissioners, people's eyes in the audience would widen and they would be in shock. That we're spending.
Can they pass the budget without this agreement and then come back to that later?
Well, I think that's what they'll probably do. Right. And I'll be a no vote, but I'm going to let everyone know why.
And obviously, if it was going to move forward next year, it would be part of the campaign, obviously,
right.
At that point.
Yeah, and I've had multiple times where I've tried to pump the brakes on spending related to the county campus construction. I outlined all that at the meeting. Actually, there's a YouTube video that I posted on my Facebook today of the meeting. It highlights all this. But I'm the one on the board that tries to pump the brakes whenever there's excessive spending. Unfortunately, I get outvoted 2-1. But if I have a partner on that board, it's going to be a total turnaround, and then we're going to work for the best interests of the taxpayers, not unions, not special interest groups, and not campaign donors. And they're all who are influencing the county's agenda right now.
We have a few more minutes with Joe Gale, Montgomery County Commissioner. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back and have more coming up in a moment.
WNPV AM 1440.
With Joe Gale, who along with his brother Sean will be running for Montgomery County Commissioner next year, perhaps in a contested Republican primary, perhaps not, but likely to run against the incumbent Democratic Commissioners Val Arkush and Ken Lawrence. Now, do you believe that this issue over the union thing and the union getting a piece of the pie here, do you believe that the pressure is so on the Democrats that they almost have to do it? What's your assessment of that?
Well,
politics.
I feel that they're pressured to do it, not because they're getting letters from Bob Casey and Tom Wolf and Matt Bradford and Mary Jo Daley, but the unions are pressuring them to do it. And all you have to do is take a look at their public campaign finance records, and it's thousands and thousands of dollars from labor and trade unions. They're giving those donations for a reason. And now we know this is one of the reasons why. They'd like to see that this campus project is a project labor agreement, right, so they benefit financially. So this is straight up playing politics. This is catering to campaign donors at the expense of taxpayers.
Do you believe this could be a referendum on this project and the extent of this project?
Luckily I brought it up, and I'm sharing my concerns and the negative impact a project labor agreement would have. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm not going to back away from it. I'm going to keep being a vocal critic of it and hopefully stop it from taking place.
Do you have any ultimate goal behind me? You had announced at one time you were going to run for lieutenant governor. Then there was an age thing that sort of cropped up. So what other goals do you have? I mean, do you just want to be in Norristown, or what is the Joe Gale plan here?
So here I am. To the
extent that you want to reveal it now on WNPV radio.
I'm young, so I have age on my side, and God willing, the future could be bright politically. We'll see.
Don't look at me when you say that. I resent that, quite frankly.
But what really upsets the establishment is that I'm young, but also the commissioner of a very populated county. Montgomery County is the third most populated county in the Commonwealth, next to Philadelphia and Allegheny County with the city of Pittsburgh. Right. So I represent a constituency larger than a congressman. The only Republican that would outrank me as far as constituent size is a statewide Republican, and the only one we have is Pat Toomey.
Right.
So I would have a big role in statewide politics. I know the establishment's well aware of that, and it bothers them. But I have a lot of name recognition in southeastern Pennsylvania, in the 5-county region, that makes up 40% of the statewide electorate. There's Democrats that approve of me. There's independents that approve of me. And I have definitely energized a conservative base more than any other Republican, probably in Pennsylvania, to be honest with you. And I think that's something unique and something that could create a promising political future if I decided to go up the ladder.
What do you think of Pat Toomey?
Pat Toomey, I think, is a disappointment many times.
What disappoints you about Pat Toomey?
I think he should be a stronger supporter of the Trump agenda. I feel like many times he tries to stay away from that, thinks it can ruin his image of being a thoughtful moderate Republican. He started out strong, taking on Arlen Specter, who was a Rhino Republican in name only, and he got into D.C. and he kind of got sucked into the swamp, and he lost that image of the guy bucking the status quo in Washington, and lost that conservative flair that he once had. So, to be honest, I would say he's been a disappointment. I've criticized him as well on multiple things. I think he's soft on. I know immigration was one that I criticized him on. I find my role is to be a conservative voice for not only the followers I have in Montgomery County, but across the state, and to hold wishy-washy Republicans accountable and make sure they stay true to conservative values and principles.
All right. Well, we're done for today, but thanks for coming in.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
And we'll talk about this stuff again, and there's more to come. And this big capital project in Montgomery County, that's a huge story going forward one way or the other.
Yeah, and I would just leave it as, next year in 2019 is local races that don't garner much excitement and attention, but the Gale brothers threw a wrench in the system, and we're turning everything upside down. And I encourage the public to follow what's going on.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.